All right, let's talk about relationships again. But let's talk about some relationships that are super close to us. And because they are so close to us, sometimes they hurt the most. And so I am going to talk about I was torn between two different titles, calling this Mothers and Husbands, or calling it How to Heal Hurting Relationships. So we're just going to play with both of those and see what comes up. But first of all, if we're meeting for the very first time, my name is April Bragg, and I am a Christian life coach. And this year, I am on a mission to help 100 women transform their marriages. And I have been talking about relationships for a really long time. I have been coaching specifically on relationships for a really long time. In fact, I realized I was looking back, and my very first clients that came to me, it was about relationships, specifically about mother relationships. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Now, why did I find that interesting? Well, because just this last weekend, I went down to Austin, Texas, and I had the opportunity to get certified in a specific coaching tool that I had been wanting to deep dive in my practice for a really long time. I had used this in a superficial manner for a while, ever since I've been introduced to it. But I was at the point where I was like, listen, now's the time. I want to learn how to use this tool so that I can help my clients get faster results, better results, stronger results, even faster in even just single sessions. And so I'm like, so we're going to go and learn all of the intricacies of what is a deceptively simple tool. And so, anyway, it was fabulous, fabulous trip. But part of this training was that we would take time coaching each other. And I couldn't believe it. There were 5 different opportunities that I had to coach with people. And without telling people what I was specifically had been coaching on for the last 2 years, and, Christian coach and relationship coach and all that, it just so happened that 3 of the 5 times that I was coaching with somebody, we were talking about mother or husband relationships. And I couldn't believe it, because in my mind, it's, I guess I thought, well, everybody just has all different kinds of problems. But there's this point when I realized, wait, the problems, the hurts that are closest to us are the hurts that hurt the most. And so that is why I wanted to call this Mothers and Husbands, because if we think about all the people that are in our life, is there anybody that we let in more closely than our mother? And I wouldn't even say that we let them in. I mean, the moment we're born, we as humans are looking at our mom as almost like I and my mom are the same person. I came out of her body. And so that is a very close relationship. And which, by the way, as a mother myself to a 20-year-old daughter and a son who is turning 18 by the time this episode comes out, I am realizing even more how close of a relationship that is, as you are really coming to grips with your child going out into the world and being their own person. Now, I am fortunate in that I have had a lot of coaching on this, and I have been practicing this for the last 4 or 5 years. And so I am not in the panic state that I assume I would have been if I had not already started doing this work ahead of time. So listen, by the way, if you have children that are 14 or 15 and you're already wondering, what's going to happen when they go out to the world. Hey, contact me. I can help you with this. Um, we can, but that is what I'm talking about. It can feel like, oh my goodness, I've invested so much of myself into this person that there's almost like one person, like you see so much of yourself in your children. Well, it's the same thing with your mother. You see so much of yourself, or so much of what sometimes, if you don't have a great relationship with your mother, you become the opposite of this, and so you see so much of the opposite of yourself in your mother, and that creates its own set of problems. And then husbands. And I was thinking about this, when people get married, life is just going to be wonderful, great, the honeymoon, all this. Y'all, there is a reason why in the Bible, God talks about husband and wife becoming one flesh. And because to have this powerful, stand the test of time relationship with another human being in the bond of marriage, to have that physical intimacy and that emotional intimacy and that spiritual connection and all of that, you have to open yourself up and be vulnerable. Number one, vulnerable, and two, authentic. And that is a skill set. And we are taught so many times that, and the problem is this, we are afraid to open ourselves up if we've been hurt, or we're afraid to open ourselves up when we've been hurt. So if we are accumulating hurts, maybe they're hurts from our childhood, maybe they're hurts from, our relationship with our parents or other people, there is this tendency, anytime we have a hurt, to protect ourselves. Okay. So I'm going to go on a side little note here, but I'm going to bring it all back together. I was working out with my trainer this morning, Brandon. Shout out to Brandon. Brandon, you're wonderful. I hate you, but I love you. Brandon hurts me, but in a good way. And that is exactly the reason I went to him, because I hit my 40s and I realized, oh my goodness, I'm going downhill faster than I thought I would in this decade. And one of the areas that I have a problem with is I have a back that is, I'm not sure what's wrong with it. I just know that if I sit with poor posture, or if I even sit too long, if I don't go to the chiropractor regularly, if I overwork it, it hurts. If I don't work it at all, it hurts. And so there is this balance. And so imagine if I had gone to my trainer, Brandon, and I had said, hey, Brandon, listen, I need to get stronger in my life, but whatever you do, we cannot touch my back, because my back is weak. It's very sensitive and I have a lot of pain in my back. So you can work at my arms and my, legs, but we can't move the back at all. And we can't work on the abs, because how can you work on the abs without working on the back? Well, Brandon wouldn't have been a good coach to me if he would have allowed me to set that parameter of, listen, we can work on all this stuff, but we're not touching this part because it's weak. Because the answer to a hurt, the answer to a weak spot in our body is not to protect it, but to strengthen it. But to strengthen it compassionately, gently. And that is why that is the exact same process that we need to approach relationship hurts with. So and this is why, out of all the people in the world, our closest relationships that relationship with our mom, that relationship with our husband, that relationship with our teenage adult child, that stage where the kids stop thinking that you are the best thing in the entire world and they start seeing you and seeing your flaws, and then they can say something back to you that points out your flaws. Those hurt so bad. They really, really do. And I'm right with you. And the flip side of the coin is this: those are potentially the moments that are the most conducive to strengthening what is a weak spot in the relationship. So just like I went to Brandon and I said, listen, I want to be stronger, but we have to be careful about my back. And he did that. So he would give me exercises and check in. And how is your back? And he would give me specific exercises for my back, but he never overloaded it. Never once. He never said, okay, April, no pain, no gain. If your back's not hurting yet, we need to push it harder. No, we don't push through the pain. We support it. We strengthen it. We check in with it. We find out what's going on. We enlist help with it. That is why I want to tell you this. If you have a relationship hurt, first of all, I want to offer compassion. It can really, really hurt. But I also want to offer you a tender warning in that the natural response when you have a relationship hurt is to pull back, and it's to protect it. It's to wrap it up with an ace bandage. It's to put some distance between you and that other person. It's to cancel the next workout with your trainer. It's to cancel the next conversation with your husband. Cancel the next phone call with your mom, because you don't want that hurt to be hit over and over and over again. You want to protect it. And I am not saying either that you should just push through the pain. That's ridiculous. Don't push through the pain. You're going to inflame it more. Okay, I'm really upset at him. I'm really upset at my husband. So I'm going to go talk to him right now about all the reasons why I'm upset. Okay, sure, go ahead. You might get a lot of stuff off your chest, but it's questionable whether you're going to actually solve it or whether you're just going to be hitting bruises over and over and over again. Which, by the way, is I need to insert this. I am coming up with a new training on how to stop overfighting. And if you want details on that, you need to go to aprilbragg.com/workshop. That is where you'll get on the mailing list, and I will send out the information of how that's going to be. It might be in person. I think I'm going to do an in-person option and an online option. And I have already decided this is going to be completely free, how to stop overfighting. So there's just a quick little plug. It's coming up in the next few weeks. I'm still working out some of the details and the exact times, but go to aprilbragg.com/workshop to get on my list so that you'll hear about my workshops. But the answer is not, when you have a relationship hurt, the answer is not to pull back. A lot of times people are talking about boundaries, but what they mean by boundaries is like cutting off somebody out of the relationship. That's not what a boundary is. And I don't want to go into a big old topic. That's not what a boundary is. And I don't want to go into a detailed discussion on what boundaries are, but just as a side note, a boundary is very similar to the conversation that Brandon and I have about my back. If this is hurting, we're going to stop that and move to something else that will support it. So I'll make an episode soon about boundaries, I promise. All right. But our first instinct when somebody hits up against a bruise in the relationship, a hurt in the relationship, is to pull back. Another instinct we have is to fix it and fix it now. Throw everything at it so it can be fixed so that we can get to peace again. Okay. You can't force healing. Again, we're going to be compassionate with it. Another instinct we have is to protect it. So we can protect it with space by pulling it back, but we can start just hardening around it. I am not talking about that. And I'm setting a boundary on that. We're not going there. We're not. And the problem with that approach is this: we're not strengthening it. Because the true answer to a relationship hurt is this: heal it, strengthen it, and then it can't be hurt so easily. So the reason why I'm telling you there's so much similarity between relationship pain with our mom or our parents, the relationship pain with our spouse, the relationship pain with our children as they are pulling away from us, separating themselves from us, becoming their own person, is this: because these people are so close to us, they see our insecurities, the things that we hide from other people. These people, the ones that are closest to us, are the strongest mirror in our lives. And so even though it might seem like my mother is so crazy, she's frustrating me. That is not how I would actually describe my mother. But my mother and I did the whole thing of became the opposite of my mother because I didn't appreciate who she was exactly. And so for years, there was a distance in our relationship because I could not appreciate her for who she was. You want to know why I could not appreciate her for who she was? Because I couldn't appreciate me for who I was. And so I would hyper focus on my mom's faults as a distraction from criticizing myself for my own faults. So what's the answer? What's the answer to healing relationship hurts? It's not fixing the other person. That's hard. That is really, really hard. Some might say nigh impossible. Maybe you have found a way to fix another person so you feel better. I know that I am a very determined person, and I spent 2 decades trying to do this. And I read a lot of books, and I tried a lot of different things to fix all the people in my life. And after 20 plus years, you guys have to understand, I started working on relationships when I was like 10 or 11. I mean, that's when I started reading relationship books. After more than 20 years of diving into this, it was like, okay, I think it might be time to admit defeat and stop fixing them and start healing me. Start strengthening me. Start giving me space to strengthen myself. And you all, when I did that, 6 weeks, in 6 weeks of doing that work, it made all the difference in all my relationships. And it's only gotten better since then. So just like I have spent, a lot of years talking about getting stronger and I should exercise. Oh my gosh. I said I should exercise for a decade and then would hit and miss. And finally, it got to the point where I'm like, nope, I know this is important. I want to take care of my body. I want to live to 120. So therefore, if I'm serious about this, I am hiring a trainer and I'm getting the support I need because I don't know how to strengthen myself without re-injuring this injury, this back. Maybe that's you. Maybe that's you where you're like, I don't know how to have a better relationship without re-injuring this hurt. And if that's you, I want to encourage you to take advantage. I offer a free consult. So in that consult, we can identify what specifically is the injured area and a very specific strategy for strengthening it so it doesn't keep on getting re-injured. Without, this is so important, without the necessity of bringing the other person in for couples counseling. Okay? When I'm working out with Brandon, he does not have to actually lift the weights with me for me to get stronger. He helps me by giving me exercises. I like to say it this way. When you first get married and you know how, you think you know how to cook, but you don't know how to cook. And your husband, he's been living off ramen noodles and all that. And okay, this is the beauty about a relationship between two people. Only one person needs to go to cooking classes and learn how to cook for two people to eat well. If you are willing, if you're interested in learning how to cook well, you can sign up for cooking classes and then you can make these amazing gourmet meals. And then you can share those meals with your husband. By the way, do not confuse me for saying that you should go to cooking class and then you should cook 3 gourmet meals a day for your husband all the time. We are not going to enjoy our relationships by filling it with obligations. But if you learn the skill of cooking, you never have to have a bad meal again. As long as you fixed it. Okay. So that is what it is like to work with a relationship coach. If you learn the skills of relationship building, then you can create amazing relationships with anybody you want. They don't have to know the skills. You're skilled. You're good. And this does not mean that you're a doormat, by the way. If you're hearing that I'm a doormat, we've got to talk because if you know me, if you know my husband, you know I am not a doormat. And we have an amazing relationship. And I tried on it. I tried to be a doormat for a while, I think submission means being a doormat. And so I, pretended to not have opinions and, he might not like a strong woman. Oh my goodness. That was terrible because I created distance in our relationship because I wasn't being who I was created to be. And then he wasn't even getting the chance to love me for who I was created to be. All right. We're going to wrap this up. I have so many things I want to say to you, but I can't say them all in one episode. So remember this, the wonderful thing, and it's like a two-sided coin. You can see it from a positive or negative. The people that are the very closest to us that we let in truly do have the power to trigger those hurts that we already have. If Brandon wanted to, he could break my back. I have to trust him to take care of my back. And I do. And so I trust him, but I also speak up when I say, hey, this is hurting a little bit more. And then he stops. Okay. The people that are closest to us are the people that are close enough to us to hit the hurt points. But we don't have to change them and show them how to stop hitting the hurt points. We could heal those bruises and then they don't hurt if they're touched. Oh, you touched that. And that used to be an insecurity. I used to be really insecure about the way I looked. And then when you said, yeah, that's not my favorite dress, then that, hit my insecurity. But once I worked on my insecurity, when you say that's not your favorite dress, I can say, oh, I love it. It's an awesome dress. Or, yeah, it's not my favorite either. I've just been trying to get my money's worth out of it because I bought it already. Okay. When we heal our hurts on our side of the relationship, then we can be so much more open, so much stronger, and we can enjoy those closest relationships. So that's what I'm saying. Those relationships that are the closest to us, yes, they do have the power to trigger our hurts. But that does not mean that it has to stay that way. The answer is to learn how to heal our own hurts without waiting for them to do it for us, because they've got their own hurts. That's why they're triggering us. They don't even realize it. But we heal our own hurts. We heal our own bruises. And then we get to enjoy the relationship. Okay? All right. That is all I have for you today. Again, if you want to get in on that upcoming workshop, How to Stop Overfighting, go to aprilbragg.com/workshop. And if you want to up-level your relationship, any relationship, in 12 weeks, then go to aprilbragg.com/great-marriage so we can find out which relationship you want to work on and the number one obstacle that is keeping you from truly and enjoying that relationship. All right? All right. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.